Hey, guys, just want to give everyone a disclaimer here. As we were recording the podcast tonight, the news came out that Medic's fight against Jonny Parsons has been canceled, but he is still fighting. So he will be fighting against actually, Rick, I'll let you pronounce it because I botched it when I tried to say it earlier. He's going up against Myktybek Orolbai.
Yeah, that's about as good as I can pronounce it.
The reason we don't have a solid pronunciation on his name, it is his UFC debut. He is coming in from a couple fights with LFA, and will be stepping in on here 4 days short notice to take on Medic. So no odds yet are out on this, obviously. They will be out here in the coming days. So make sure to follow us on Twitter at AndyHH Sports, at RickHH Sports. We'll be able to tweet out some plays for this fight if there's anything that's worth betting on. And we wanted to go ahead and still include our analysis because the stuff that we talk about with Medic still stands true for his fight that's coming up in the next couple of days. So appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. And sorry about having to include this disclaimer. Coming up next, we've got Uros Medic taking on Jonny Parsons. Medic is coming into this one with 7 KOs, 2 subs, no wins by decision. He's 3-1 in the UFC after entering the promotion via a Contender Series victory in 2020. And he will be taking on Jonny Parsons, who is 9-3, 1-0 in the UFC with 7 knockouts and 2 decisions to his professional win column. Medic has finished all of his fights. So as I touched on, that's been great for him, right? But the other side of that is he's also been finished as he lost to a round 1 rear naked choke to Jalen Turner in 2021 as his only loss, but an impressive loss. So none of his fights have ever seen him go to decision so far. He's 6'1", weighing in at welterweight at 170, taking on a Jonny Parsons guy who is a little interesting in my opinion. Parsons has talked about how much weight he cuts to make it to welterweight. He talks about how he cuts, like he's in the process of his weight cut. He's cutting like 30-some pounds. He doesn't seem like that big of a dude to be cutting this much weight to get to welterweight, but so be it. He is going to be an interesting test for Medic, but I do feel that with Medic's experience and the resume that he's been able to compile thus far in his 4 fights in the UFC, paired with the Contender Series bout, I do give him the slight edge over Jonny Parsons. But from a more technical standpoint, I'd be interested to hear some of your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Like Medic, as you mentioned, now at welterweight, and it's good that you mentioned the Parsons weight and how much he's trying to cut, because Medic is sort of the opposite. Like he used to somehow be at 155 and has moved up to 170, had a long layoff, had a bad hand, and came into that semi the Jedi matchup against Matthew Semmelsberger in 170, thinking that he might be a bit of the smaller fighter and that power might be a bit of an issue. And he proved in no time that he belonged in the weight class. So he's now solidly up to 170. He's been training and preparing there for now a long time. And he saw a lot of success in the Semmelsberger fight on the feet with some of that different movement that he has with his feet, odd timing, and really that left straight. He can throw that left hand in a straight, over the top, hook, uppercut, however he wants to. But he can also throw that right in combination with it. And the way that he finishes combinations is deadly. And that's sort of how he was able to finish Semmelsberger in that 3rd round. Was he flurried in, landed a few punches up top, landed a knee up the middle to the jaw, finished it with a couple on the way out to wobble him, and then chased him down, hit him with a spinning back fist that put him down before finishing him. And you could argue it might have been a little bit early as far as stoppages go. Not the worst stoppage I've seen, not the best, but regardless, was able to drop him in a close fight in the 3rd round that likely would have given him the decision anyways. So, and Parsons is interesting because in theory, you would think that he's the better fighter, right? If you were just listening to us right now, you would think that he's the bigger fighter. Well, he's going to have a 4-inch height disadvantage and a 2-inch reach disadvantage, if I could speak.
He's just thick.
And so, yeah, like he's a bit of a thick boy, and he sort of operates like he's the thick boy, right? Like when you think like the big bully at school, like you think like, hey, he can take a punch, like he'll keep his hands high towards his face, and he guards the body decently well. But a lot of times he likes to just stand there with it and be stationary and get hit. And with a guy like Medic, who's got power, similar to Slavaklaus from last week, with a guy who's got that much power, he's going to be able to find his way around the guard to hit you behind the ears, to rip you to the body as soon as you start getting a little too high. And that speed of Medic is really a difference maker. One of the other flags that I see here personally for Parsons is his propensity to get into brawls. I like guys who want to be able to take one or who can prove that they can take one. but not after a while. Like, you don't want to keep getting hit. And he's had some different concussion issues. He also had a huge weight cut, as you mentioned, and he will for this fight as well, in theory. But I don't like the amount that he likes to get hit against a guy like Medic. And I think that that's probably represented here in the line, with Medic being a sizable favorite compared to the others that we've covered so far at -235. Parsons coming in at +200. And we're looking to see a knockout more than likely because the total's at 1.5, juice slightly to the over at -145. I think that if Parsons can't find some success early with the leg kicks, he could get in trouble. And Medic will be able to impose his will moving forward if it's just a boxing match. So I've got Medic in this fight pretty confidently. I've got him parlayed with somebody down the line in this card, straight up. And so I'll get to that in that card. But picking Medic officially for me. Andy, what are your final thoughts here?
I'm also picking Medic. I feel like he's going to have a huge advantage with the size. He's awesome with the body shots where, hey, those hurt even more on a thick boy, more than you would think at least, as well as like the timing that he's going to be able to have. He is just so well-rounded as a striker, in my opinion, that it's going to be a little bit too much for Jonny Parsons. So I took a same route, yet a different route, where I'm taking Medic money line at -225 on BetMGM and parlaying it with the Houston Texans money line -210. And that gives you at +113, which I'll be doing for a unit. My reasoning behind the Houston Texans play, you can find at happyhoursports.net. Every week I have an early best bets article that comes out Sunday night, Monday morning. And I have a pretty long, extensive reason why I like the Texans spread this weekend. So keep it locked in with us as we move on to the next fight, which is Amanda Ribas taking on Luana Pinheiro.